It's Sunday, and you know what that means.
Movies, music, and monsters.
Hey my friends, Dan Monroe here from Movies, Music, and Monsters with another fun-filled Sunday afternoon Q&A, and I'm sorry, I haven't done one of these in a while. Just been super busy with other channel stuff, and I can see from my inbox that my questions from you guys are really starting to pile up. So, without any further ado, let's get to it. Robot, if you please.
Elizabeth from Toronto, Canada asks, "Hey Dan, you talk a lot about old movies, but do you have any current day favorite things that you watch?"
Thank you for the question, Elizabeth from Toronto. I used to live in Welland and St. Catharines, Ontario, not too far from you, but to answer the question. Believe it or not, I don't have cable of any kind. Years ago, I just got too tired of flipping through 9,000 channels and basically finding nothing but commercials. The mainstream news is pretty much just useless these days anyway, and if I want to know what the weather is, I can simply go look outside. So, I abandoned cable completely in exchange for listening to recommendations from friends and colleagues about streaming shows. And holy Jiminy Christmas, have there been some outstanding shows in the last few years, in my opinion, starting with Yellowstone. Really great show if you're into character-driven plots. The last season was a little bit weird since they lost their main star.
Warning, spoiler alert.
Hooah! Sorry, but I think overall a pretty complete piece of work and really fun to watch. Tulsa King with Stallone is out freaking standing. Totally different kind of show than Yellowstone, but really fun and entertaining with some extremely good characters thrown in the mix. There is an awesome sci-fi show going on right now. Not sure how many of you guys have heard of it, but it's probably my favorite streaming show at the moment, and it is called Silo. Futuristic, post-apocalyptic world about generations of people living in a silo. Sci-fi meets murder mystery. Unbelievable cast, really intriguing story. I would highly recommend checking that one out for sure. Right now, my wife are smack dab in the middle of something called Severance. I really liked the first season. Not quite sure how I feel about the second season yet. Gotta wait to see what the third season brings. It's sci-fi, I guess. Not really sure, since a lot of the technology from the show seems to be from the 80s. Essentially the story of people who work for a certain company who get severed, meaning a chip is put in their brain so that when they're at work, they don't remember their home life, and when they're at home, they don't remember their office jobs. Really, an interesting, original concept. Great actors, super in-depth at times. If you watch this one, for God's sakes, pay attention. It's super easy to get lost, but I would definitely recommend it. Okay, that was an extremely long-winded answer, but Robot, what else you got?
At Sam Jones asks, "If you could, would you change anything in the Star Trek canon?"
That, my friend, is a really deep question. Star Trek canon. Well, I certainly, right off the bat, was not a fan of Spock suddenly having a long-lost brother in Star Trek V. However, that being said, I'm obviously a fan of the original 1960s TV show. I like most of the theatrical movies with the original cast. I really liked a lot of the Next Generation, especially the later seasons when they really started gelling as a production. I really didn't care that much for Deep Space Nine at all. I just thought it was super boring. Voyager, I liked. It was kind of Star Trek meets Lost in Space, and that's basically where I just stopped. I mean, These days, there's so much Star Trek going on, I don't even know really what to look at. We've got cartoons, which are basically comedies. We've got J.J. Abrams going off on a completely different Kelvin timeline. And then recently, I saw some clip of the cast and the crew on the bridge of some ship literally singing and dancing, doing a Broadway number. Okay, so yeah, that's, I don't know what canon I would change as far as Star Trek goes. I guess I just wish that some of, shall we say, today's Star Trek was a little more reminiscent of what Star Trek was in its, in my opinion, glory days. So, not really sure if I answered the question, but I did my best. Okay, robot, if you please.
George from Cincinnati asks, obviously you're on YouTube. Why are you not promoting on more social media platforms?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really a fan of social media platforms. I'm old. Well, I'm 50 something. I don't know. I don't really think about it. Mid-50s, and quite honestly, I don't have the time to monitor them all. I'm barely on Facebook as it is, and when I am, I'm really just looking at pages that interest me about movies and music and monsters. I don't actually follow a lot of people like real human beings because I'm sorry, but I just don't really care that they've uploaded pictures of what they made for dinner that night. And yeah, I know, probably the channel would grow faster if I had an Instagram account, whatever that is, or a click, clack, or tick, take, talk, something, whatever. But to be honest, I really just have no interest. What we've got going on here, my friends, is just perfect. And quite frankly, I see no real reason to change something that clearly seems to be working. Okay, robot, let's have another one.
Linda and Paul from Minnesota ask, have you ever been to Galaxy's Edge, and what did you think?
It was great. Lots of fun. I've only been there once, last year, I think. Seeing the Millennium Falcon up close was super cool. Riding the Millennium Falcon was okay, but the Rise of the Resistance ride was outstanding. But again, I just couldn't help but thinking while walking around this entire place, man, you guys certainly missed the boat. Okay, yes, granted, people are coming in and they are spending money, but the whole thing is based on the Disney sequel trilogy. Could you imagine the amount of people that would be swarming into Galaxy's Edge from all over the world if it was based on the original Star Wars trilogy, you know? The good ones, the ones that started it all, the ones that you guys, Disney, seem to be shoving under the carpet for some reason. You could have had a Tatooine land, Hoth land with snow walkers, the Endor forest with the cute little Ewoks running around and taking pictures with the kitties. I don't know. I know Disney wants to push these new movies, but there is no way you will ever convince me that Galaxy's Edge wouldn't be 1,000 times more profitable if you, Disney, simply gave the fans what they really want. So, yeah, I liked it. It was fun. I would probably go again, even though my thoughts on the matter certainly would not change. Okay, robot, we got time for, I think, one more. Let's have it.
Speaking of Disney Star Wars, Frank from Florida asks, Dan, I know you're not a fan of the Disney Star Wars movies, but do you ever still sit down to watch them today?
I love The Force Awakens. I do. I did a video about that a couple of months ago, and I liked it because it felt like a Star Wars movie. Was it great? No. Was it fun? Yes. The Rise of Skywalker was, I don't know, not great. Obviously, they had no plan from the beginning and just threw a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what might stick.
Somehow, Palpatine returned.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And then there's The Last Jedi. I am not going to be one of the other countless hundreds of channels that do nothing but slam that film. I just didn't like it for a ton of reasons. But that being said, I do have a tendency to re-edit the movies that I don't really care for to make them more palatable. And boy, oh boy, did The Last Jedi get a really good re-editing, I can tell you that. I took the scene in the beginning where Luke used to throw the lightsaber over his shoulder in disgust, completely recut it, re-edited it. He does not toss it away. He holds it gently and then slowly hands it back to Rey. Much better, that sort of thing. I completely cut out the whole Canto bite sequence, which had nothing to do with the story anyway. I cut out the Princess Leia floating through space like Mary Poppins nonsense, and I think the whole movie ended up being now about 90 minutes rather than over 2 hours. I took about 40 minutes out of it and tightened up a lot of the rest, removing, if not all, most of the terrible attempts at, I guess you would call it, humor. So, yeah, I can occasionally sit down and watch what I call the Monroe versions, especially of movies like The Last Jedi. So I hope that answered your question.
And may the Schwartz be with you.
If we could just take a second here really quick, I've noticed, according to my YouTube analytics, that only about 50% of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed, and it's the subscriptions that really, really help keep this channel going. So if you're not subscribed, take a second, click the button. It would really help me, the channel, and the robot out. Thank you so much. Well, my friends, that was a lot of fun, and I certainly do enjoy doing these Q&A videos every once in a while, and I will continue to do them as time allows. But in the meantime, if you guys do enjoy this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a whole bunch of new videos coming up really soon that I know you guys are just gonna dig in. Please feel free to stop back anytime as we together continue the conversation on movies, music, and monsters.
Movies,
Music and monsters.